Well, hello. I need to really work on my voice today. I think I'm a little tired. I don't know. But my voice is just a little weird. But just bear with me. But today is a very interesting topic. More so because of everything going on in the world today. There's a lot of violence, there's a lot of killings, there's a lot of depression, pretty much. People are losing their job from COVID, people are dying from COVID. And then Nigeria, recently, people have been dying from the police brutality there. It's crazy what's going on. So I think this topic came at the right time. So the topic for today is self-care. And what about self-care do we want to focus on today? Protecting our peace. So whatever that means, like protecting our peace in our workplace, in our businesses, in our community, pretty much. So I have two wonderful guests today that are about to share their experience with me because even I'm also still working on protecting my own peace. It's very difficult. But with no further ado, I'm going to introduce those two awesome guests. My first guest today is Dawn Kume. Hey, Dawn.
Hi, nice to meet you. And I'm so happy to be here on the show and share my kind of experience on peace and self-care on this topic because I know it's very important for sure. And I'm just happy to be here.
Beautiful, beautiful. I'm happy to have you here. Thank you for saying yes.
Yeah.
Of course. My next guest today is Cedrula Maruska. Hey, girl.
Hey, how's it going? Yes.
Girl.
Thank you so much for having me. I am really excited to be here today. And I know that this topic is so on point. As you said, so much is going on. So I'm excited to help people find their peace within this tumultuous universe that we're living in right now.
I like that word, tumultuous.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Like I said earlier, it's just one thing after another. I feel like when something happens, you try to like protect your peace, and then something happens again. And you're like, wow, I was just working on the first. Now I have to jump on, that kind of stuff. And so I think this is a much needed topic right now. Most especially because I know that Dawn is a business coach and Sujula, you're a motivational speaker. So I think like, in both of you's businesses and, what you do for your, for the community, I think like you've talked about this, I'm sure, countless number of times, I'm sure. So, it's very, I think this is a very wonderful topic that I really wanted to bring to both of you because again, like I said, I'm a work in progress and sometimes I like to learn from other people and not just stay in my own little bubble. And in the process of learning from my own, from other people, my hope is that other people that watch this show can also take a thing or two from these conversations. So, just as this topic states, self-care. What does protecting your peace mean? I want to ask you guys, what does protecting your peace mean to you? So, Joel, I'm gonna go with you first. I'm going counterclockwise this time.
Okay. Protecting my peace to me, it just simply means allowing myself to be in a space where I'm okay, where I don't feel anxious and I don't feel stressed. I don't feel that I need to do or I should. Should is a word that I'm working very, very hard to remove from my vocabulary because when you feel like you should, it causes this anxiety, which then causes you to lose that inner peace. And so for me, it's removing shoulds, removing clutter, and simply allowing yourself to be in the space that you are and who you are and inhabit yourself. That to me is really what keeping, protecting your peace and being in your peace means. So and honestly, if I'm to be perfectly honest, that is something that I've only really come to grasp in the last, I would say, 3 years or so. in 2017, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And once you get a diagnosis like that, you have to stop, like you just have to just stop and you have to go, okay, this is happening right now. What does this mean for my future? And what does this mean for me? Like, am I doing the things that I really want to do? Or am I using my full potential?
Mm.
And if the answer is no, you have to really look at this and say, well, why not? And a lot of that comes down to not allowing yourself the space to have that peace, to have that discourse with yourself. So what I started to do once I started the treatments, I started with meditation, I started with coloring, I started with, and I also was it was easy because no one asked me to do anything. So I didn't have to say no. So when it started to get more and more that I could do different things, I was able to be more discerning on the things that I wanted to do that mattered or that were going towards the goals I was going for, versus simply saying yes, because as something I read today says, we equate being nice with being moral.
Ooh.
And it's not the same thing. Being nice and being moral are not the same thing. Moral people are not always nice, and nice people are not always moral.
Hello.
So being able to say no and know that you are still a good person and you're still a nice person is something that you have to learn. So for me, I think that that's where I live. I'm like, yeah, no, I think I'm going to feel better if I do this. So thanks anyway.
No, I hear you, girl. I hear you. I think, the fun part of what you said that really even grasped my interest is, of course, everything, but the most important part was the decluttering.
Yes.
I think a lot of people think that decluttering means physically, like, oh, you're physically decluttering your space, right? But decluttering your mind too is the thing, right?
Yeah. And
And
they kind of go hand in hand, right? Decluttering your space as well as decluttering your mind. But you really have to be clear on what's important so that you can declutter your mind and just go, no, not today.
Yeah, not today. Not I like that. That's my favorite one. Not today. Not today. Not today. It's not gonna get to me. Not today. Not today.
That's right.
I hear you, girl. I am on that boat as well. Don, I want to hear what you have to say. Tell me, what does protecting your peace mean to you?
Well, protecting peace means I really resonate with Sadrola of creating those boundaries and saying no. But it's also, to me, it means that really tap back into my intuitive self and what works for me, what doesn't work for me. And I really have to go back into creating that boundary for myself. A lot of people think of self-care just meaning have a bubble bath or enjoying a movie once in a while. But it's that spirituality of are you taking care of your soul? Are you creating those healthy boundaries when you say yes or say no? Because I used to be so guilty of saying no because I'm trying to be, being protective of myself, protecting my energy. And we feel guilty of oh my gosh, I can't believe I say no. Am I hurting that person? But we have to understand that we are creating this boundary to serve a higher good. So not only we're protecting our own energy, but it's also we feel so much more at ease and we feel so much more put together and calm. And we're out of serving from that space and mentality, we actually give more to people. So I feel like in my sense of creating peace is really tapping back into our intuitive self and creating those healthy boundaries, creating those balance between yes and no's, what makes you happy, what doesn't make you happy. And also it's okay to say no, because if that person truly understands you and know where you're coming from, I think that that person would truly understand and just forgive and accepting that right now, right here, you're just not feeling it.
No, I like that. I like that. And I think I think what you said, there was one thing that you said, looking into your soul.
Hmm.
I think that just hit me. Let me tell you why it hit me real quick, right? It hit me because recently I have really been trying to connect with God, like just reconnecting, because I feel like the world has just, the world has gone so fast, first of all, with all the craziness in 2020. And I have not really let myself just be.
Exactly.
So now for me, it's like, now that things are no longer very busy in the office, I have this time to just let myself be and just tap into trying to have that connection with God. You were gonna say something, Don.
Yeah,
Sorry.
and it's like, and it's also like creating that moment, like really be at peace, like that solitude, solitary, and like calm, and really tapping back into like prayer or meditation or something that it fill your soul up and you feel energetic. And then so it doesn't have to be like fill your day full of like work. You can find time, a quiet time, just 5 minutes, and starting from small to bigger, and work your way up and creating a peaceful mindset, and that will come a long way.
Girl, I
There's
mean, go ahead, Sadrilla. You were saying something.
there's something that I read a while ago, and it said that a deep breath taken intentionally is a meditation.
Say it again,
And
say it again, say it again. Louder, louder.
a, a deep breath taken intentionally is a meditation. And after I read that, I thought, oh my gosh, that is perfect. Because now, whenever I'm feeling a little anxious or I'm feeling like things are getting a little bit away from me, I stop and I take a deep, deep breath. And it actually really just centers you. And you can take more than one if you want to, but one deep breath, like taken intentionally, like you're thinking about your breathing, you're deep breathing, you're holding it, and then you're releasing it. That deep breath will do wonders for your peace. It will allow you to make the right response, not right away, but to think about what your response is going to be. It will allow you to take space when things feel like they're closing in. And it just allows you to just relax, because a deep breath allows your whole body to just relax into the moment. And so once I heard that, I thought that right there, that's gold. I think it was Eckhart Tolle that said that. A deep breath taken intentionally is meditation.
Yeah, girl. You know why I'm smiling? I'm smiling because when I started practicing for interviews, like for job opportunities, I thought that every time the interviewer said something, I just had to respond immediately, right? Like just just get like, oh, why are you a good fit? I'm like, I'm jumping at the answer. And so then I started doing my research and I started reading about a lot of, how people interview. And, I forget who said it, but one of the things that jumped out at me was he said, it is okay when an interviewer asks you a question, it is okay to take a deep breath before you respond.
Mm-hmm.
And it is okay to tell the interviewer to repeat the question because you didn't hear it the first time, or you
Yeah.
didn't quite understand what he was asking, or he or she was asking the first time. So when he said that, as I was listening, I was like, you know what? I never thought about that, but that is true. And as I started going on interviews, I wasn't always so quick to respond. Whenever they ask me a question, I kind of sit back, of course, like with my, straight up, and then I take a deep breath, and then I respond. And then sometimes I'm quiet, like because some people think that silence is like you don't know what it is, I guess, but it's so that for me I think really resonated with me because I think in my whole professional journey I've had to learn how to like interview, and so that really stood out for me, just taking a deep breath before giving an answer, because then it's more calculated, it's more thought about. It's not just, casually just, winging it. I'm just gonna wing it. So yeah, that is true. And I think, like, if we really connected back with everything going on, the media is portraying this. You're seeing this, you're seeing that, you're seeing everything, right? And so for me, kind of like what I do now is, like, every now and then I do talk about it. I try not to talk about it every single time, because sometimes when I talk about it, it gets me very anxious. And that anxiety, like, spreads around to everyone around me, my family, and it can be a little dangerous sometimes. So I always have to take a step back and remember that it's okay to take a step back.
Right, and that's
Yeah.
like also going back to like setting that boundary.
Boundary.
That's what I was gonna say. Dawn said.
And like for personally, I try not to go onto social media at night, especially past 6 p.m. because I drive myself crazy. If I go onto social media, that means like I have to work way more than I should. So I try to really stop that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one thing. And another thing that we do is we just don't turn on the news. I mean, if you watch the news is so in your face and so sensational, and oh my God, the world is imploding. You're gonna die. It's terrible. And so we don't do that. I feel better getting headlines from New York Times online and going through headlines and going, okay. Or I have something that comes to my email every day. It's a New York Times roundup for the day. And I go through the major headlines. And honestly, that is enough for me, because the news and all the other stuff is just so much that, just like Dawn said, you've got to set those boundaries. And if those boundaries mean that you are not responding, or you're not even looking at social media, or keeping things off so that you can hold your peaceful space, that's what you got to do. That's what you got to do.
Yeah, you're right. A lot of people, sometimes some of my friends tell me, like, some of the news, like when the news come out, it's just bad. So I agree with you. Sometimes I just like to get like snippet, just a little snippet that just bite sizes. I like bite news. I don't like full size news. It can make my just being honest here. So I'm sure we've already touched on these, but I want to find out if you guys have some other additional ways that you think we should, additional ways as to why we should strive to protect our peace by any means necessary. Dawn, I'm going to start with you on this one.
So I think by any means it would be obviously like setting those boundaries, but what helps me is to be present and be mindful. So say like someone hurts you, saying something very emotional, and obviously in that moment I will feel like super upset and like, disappointed. And I would try to step back and write down whatever that's like, not serving me, and then release from those moments and those emotions. What helps me also is stepping back into like a third person perspective and like seeing it from a distant view and like saying, okay, what's that person trying to do? Why is this person trying to say this? And if the person's giving you some suggestible advice, then sure, take it, and if you think that's true. But if not, just acknowledge it and let it go. I love saying this because I used to hold it for so long, and I think that's why I was so like, miserable all the time, because I holding on all this like emotional burden. And what really helps me, it's like writing it all down. And something about just writing, it's like almost making your brain to acknowledge it and then let it go and releasing it. So that is like very helpful for me. And I also do EFT tapping, which is emotional freedom tapping technique. And it's like going back to the Chinese acupuncture and releasing those blockages. And when you say those like statements, it's helping you release those negative emotions and setting like more positive emotion and intention throughout your day, and keeping like stay level-headed and like staying in this calm and collective peace, mindfulness.
I love it. What did you call it again?
EFT tapping.
Yeah.
EFT tapping.
Yeah.
Yeah, tapping. Wow, I have to look into that. I might need a little bit of that in my life, to be honest. But seriously, no. I mean, to be honest, because the world has gone crazy now. I think the world in a different zone. I feel like sometimes am I even on Earth or am I just in a different world altogether? So, Drola, what do you think? I know you touched on it a little bit, but why should we strive to protect our peace by any means necessary? Of course, legal means necessary.
Of course, legal means, because without our peace, we get swept away. We get swept away with the news of the day. We get swept away with the emotions of the day. We get swept away with everything. And so, in order to not be swept away and to be more intentional in our lives, we need to be intentional, just like Don said, in the moment. We need to be intentional with deciding that every moment counts, because everything that happens in the future happens in this moment.
Right.
And so, what are we doing in this moment that's going to help that future? And so, if what you need to do in this moment is take a nap in order to refresh your mind and get things reorganized, and you have a clearer view of things. If what you need to do right now is write it down, like Don said, I journal every morning. It's one of the things that I started when I started to go through cancer treatments, and I've continued. I meditate, I journal, and I read. And I give myself that time to do those things so that I create a space for myself that is all for me, and that allows me to think about exactly where I want to go
Right.
today or the next day or the next month or the next year. And having that space, creating that space and holding that space has been invaluable. I mean, like my life looks so different right now than it did a year ago. And I do believe that it's because of those things that I've done
Right.
to protect that space and
Mhm.
that peace, because living intentionally means that you are thinking actively at
Right.
all times how something is going to affect you. And if you're thinking that something is going to adversely affect you, then to protect your peace, you got to say, yeah, okay,
Right.
I'm not doing that. I'm moving on to something else, or I'm not doing anything. Right now, I'm just not doing anything. I'm going to be in this moment. I'm going to sit in this moment. I'm going to examine my feelings in this moment and how I want to keep moving forward. And so it's just about really just a lot of introspection, for sure. A lot of introspection.
Yeah.
No,
And
go
sorry.
ahead, Dan.
And
No,
I
go
also
ahead.
like want to add on, like I really agree with Cetrula that, giving out and like be open and like creating the space, but it's also like I really, resonate with that. It's also like creating the space of letting go and release something that does not serve you anymore. Stop holding on to it and really just create something that you are desire, you want, and you striving for. And those positive emotion will serve you way better than the negative emotion. And like I read it the other day, like negative emotions are so much more powerful, so you have to like be conscious
Amen.
and stay ahead of the game and just letting go of those expectations, letting go of being perfect, because every day it's going to be different, every moment it's going to be different, and it's okay to have like ups and downs, but just bringing back into that right track, right mindset, and like setting your up for success. And just know that when you put into the work and stay aware of like what you're thinking about, be consciously, that you create more positive income or positive outcome for you, and making more healthy relationships and have more abundance in your life.
That is so true.
Absolutely.
It's funny that you say what you said about expectations, right? Letting go of expectations, because that was our topic last week. Navigating your expectations versus reality, right? Because I think for the most part, even if nothing was going on in the world and we were not at peace, it's because of that. Because our expectation doesn't really align with our reality, right? And so we're frustrated, we're angry, sometimes jealous, sometimes envious, right? And then we go do stupid things, right? So at the end of the day, like, it's so funny how the topics kind of connect. So when you're talking about navigating expectations versus reality, when you really know your reality, like you see, like, okay, right now, this is what I can afford. So if I can afford, um, uh, I don't know, maybe like a Corolla instead of a Maserati, then I should be I should be looking at my reality now, not the Maserati. So I don't get myself upset and heightened and irritated. However, the expectation might not be a bad thing. I think like I think if you are expecting from a point of I want to be better, as opposed to expecting from a point of I want to have it right now, it's a need, then I think that's where the differentiation comes. And I like what you said, Don, about like, yeah, letting the expectation go, but you also said something that was really crucial. Abundance. Abundance is a big deal. I think a lot of people, but abundance that when you really look inward, like really take care of you. I think, like you said at the beginning, a lot of people think self-care is going to get a pedicure, I'm going to get a manicure, I'm going to fix your eyelashes. Don't get me wrong, those are beautiful self-care processes. However, it doesn't really serve
Absolutely.
you in the long run if you don't really have the peace that you need. I think in the long run, the peace will really take you further down than a pedicure or eyelashes or, a manicure. So I mean, I I agree with you 110%. I think um, trying to really limit setting the boundaries. I think boundaries in anything is necessary. Boundaries in relationships, boundaries in peace, boundaries in, your expectations, boundaries. I think boundaries, period, is necessary. So that is a very good thing. I think a lot of people don't know how to set the boundaries. When you said after a certain time, you don't even look at social media. I can tell you that I'm the same way. I'll be over there like scrolling and
Yep.
but sometimes I'm like, I don't want to look at it. I don't want to entertain it. Today is just not the day. Like Cedrilla said, today is not the day. I don't want to look at it. I don't want to entertain it. But yeah, sometimes I get really sucked in. And when that happens, I notice that my mind just goes deeper. Like I just keep opening deeper and deeper and deeper
Yeah,
and deeper. So every time I see myself in that bubble, I always have to tell myself, but what you're doing right now, is it serving you personally and positively?
right.
Because if it's not really serving you positively or personally, then you shouldn't be doing that. Now, with what is going on in Nigeria, I'm not saying that we shouldn't speak up, because I've been speaking up, like really talking about it. But it's not to keep reading the chaos. So like like it's almost like you want to feed your mind with all the chaotic things going on, right?
Yeah.
It's more of like speaking up and saying, end this, and who can I talk to? What can I do? It's more of the solution than really going deeper into the problems. I think that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
So
I think one of the things that we should, that we need to also look at in terms of when we're trying to maintain our peaceful spaces is to understand that we only have the capacity to affect our circle of influence.
right.
And when we're constantly looking at what's happening in the news or what's happening somewhere else, it's not that we shouldn't know and it's not that we shouldn't raise our voices, but we need to understand where our boundaries, where our capabilities are. Where do we start where we are in order to affect the change that we need to affect? And then being very specific about how we're going to do that and very intentional, because I know that, as I do that, and then I'm looking at what I'm doing and what I want to do and how I want to do it in order to get the word out or in order to get something done.
Right.
When I look at everything else, I can get anxious about that. Well, maybe this isn't what I'm supposed to be doing. Maybe I should be doing this over here. Or, oh my gosh, maybe I should be doing this. You can, there's so many ways you can go, oh my gosh. And then you go, but I'm only one person and I can't do everything. Just let it all go. Instead, it's so much better to just focus and to just say, you know what, this is my circle. This is what I can influence. How do I influence this circle? Because you, as that drop in that circle, creates ripples. And then those ripples will help the other people as drops create their own ripples. And that's how you help. Because when you go way out here, it's overwhelming and it doesn't work in any way, shape, or form to protect your peace. You lose a hold on your peace when you think that you have to enact change in every area that is around you.
Yeah, girl, you just said it all. Yeah, that's perfect. I mean, I was gonna just say, like, I know we've talked about this, but I was gonna say, if you guys had something to add on, like, what are some ways we can protect our peace in the midst of the negativity going on? And I know we've kind of like talked about it, but what other ways do you think it's would help us positively protect our peace? That's if you guys have some more things that you want to talk about as it relates to that. So Joel, I'm gonna go with you, man.
Find some good songs and dance it out.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Dancing is therapy too. Hey,
it's amazing therapy. Find some really good songs that actually uplift you, that make you feel really, really good, and dance it out. And when you do that, it's going to shift your perspective. It's going to shift the way that you look at things. It's going to shift the way that you react to things. You're going to release. Find some amazing songs that you like. Find new songs that you love and dance it out. Take 5 minutes, take one song, 2 songs, 3, it doesn't matter. Just do that. Life-changing.
yeah, girl. Don, what about you?
I love going for walks because I stay at home all day, every day, and it's sometimes like the same air. For some reason, it's just like boring sometimes. Like I love going out for walks in my neighborhood even for 10 minutes. Those fresh air, it's gonna like help you elevate your energy and you feel so much more in present in the moment, be more mindful. And the other thing I love to do is just take a hot shower because I'm a mom and I have a 9-month-old. Taking hot
showers are good. No, I hear you. I hear you.
Yep.
No, definitely the walks are great because there's just something about breathing the same air every single day. I work from home, so I can relate because 2-4-7 I'm home, and so when I go outside, it's like a whole new world. I can't sing. My voice is terrible, but it feels so good to be outside. You're breathing a different kind of air, and you're like, oh my God, I just want to stay out here for life. And then you go to your home and you feel much better. I know I totally agree with the walks. I sometimes I do walks, sometimes I do runs, sometimes I just walk outside, like instead of in my house. So yeah, girl, I agree. And hot shower, oof.
Ooh. I think every time I did take a shower these days, I'm like in the shower going, thank you.
It's a whole new perspective. You're like, oh my God. Yeah, no, honestly, the hot shower, I didn't see that coming, but that definitely was. No, seriously, like hot showers are the best now because you go in there and it's just I think shower time, especially for moms, shower time is really your own time.
Oof.
It's your alone time when you're in the shower. You're like, oh God, I could
Mhm.
stay like for 2 hours.
Man, I take things in there. I'm like, okay, I got the razor, I've got the face thing, I've got
Amen.
I've got the thing for my feet. I'm like, I'm gonna be in here for a while. I hope nobody misses me.
I might as well just close the door, you know? You know, the, the hot showers will bless your soul for sure. No,
And
no
it's also
kidding.
like being a little bit, like grateful of little things. Like how no matter how big, how small, just be grateful. You will find so much more positive things in your life.
That's true.
Absolutely. I agree
That's
with
true.
that 100%. I was actually just telling my son that today. But
Right.
absolutely. And,
You, that,
you get real grateful for that shower. You get grateful for socks. You get grateful for,
you're
oh, I've
grateful for
got
the little
food.
things.
You just get grateful for so many things that you realize how many things you take for granted. Grateful for my pillow and my bed and the blanket that I have. And,
Amen.
I mean, so many things that we can take for granted because we just have them. But then when you think about them, it's like not everyone has them. And it's just like, having that gratitude allows you to see more of what you need to be grateful for. Exactly what you said, Dawn. Just you
Yeah.
see more and more.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny that you say that, Don, because I'm participating with one of my friends in this project. I don't know if you guys have heard it. It's called the Samaritan Pulse, and it's for children all over the world, like in different parts of the world, like underprivileged areas of the world, right? And when I spoke to my friend, because I didn't really know a lot about the project, and I said, what should I buy to fill up these boxes? And when she was telling me some of the things to buy, I was
So
like, Norma, you take so many things for granted because people don't even have the basic,
yeah,
And then I was listening to another friend of mine, her name is Ashley Empowers, and she was talking about being grateful for your bills. And I'm in my mind, I'm like, what does she mean by grateful for your bills? I mean, bills is coming out, it's an expense anyway, right? Because and she's like, and she broke it out, and she's like, grateful in the sense that when you get a bill, like a bill for your house, right? You say, thank God that I can actually afford this house to get this
yeah.
bill. So when she said that, I was like, you know what? I should be grateful for my bills because I didn't think about that. But it's so funny how you said the little things when you shift your focus. And I think like you and Cedrilla are like speaking the same language here. Like when you shift your focus, you start noticing the little things that you are grateful for. So the big things, if they come, then they come. But then the little things that you do every single day, right? You become very grateful for it.
Yeah.
And honestly, that is facts. That is facts, like real facts. So girl, you spot on, definitely. So
Mhm.
so now there's this one question that I want to ask because again, this platform is about stepping up. So I really want to tie it back into that. So when we all start trying to protect our peace, how does this positively affect our surroundings, our businesses, and just our environment as a whole? So, Joel, I'm going to go with you first.
I think people, because you're setting boundaries, because you're using that space and you're having that peaceful space, I think that people fall in line and start to respect your space, and they start to understand better how important that is. And besides, I think that when you become more peaceful, you're able to relate to people a little bit better because you're not as anxious, you're not as angry, you're not as frustrated, all these things kind of go to the back, and you can relate to people better, and the people that you're relating to are going to see and feel a difference, no doubt, because having that peace, having peace. If I can just speak for myself, but I have two children. One is 14 and one is 9. And I realize that I'm much calmer now when anything goes awry than I was before. Now
Right.
I'm just kind of like, all right. Okay, life happens, whereas before I could have been like, oh, not necessarily I would be yelling, but I would be like, oh, why did that, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? But now because of the peace that I've created, I'm just like, okay, keep it moving, keep it
Right.
moving. And it's the same attitude that you'll have whether it's with a colleague or it's family or it's friends. You're still going to have that same attitude and you're still going to have that same feeling, and people are going to feel it. People are going to recognize it, and they're not going to know exactly what it is. They can be like, something's a little different, but they're going to feel it, and they're going to enjoy it, because what you're going to be projecting and what you're going to be bringing in your 3 feet of space when you mix it with their 3 feet of space is a calmness that they're going to buy into, a peace that they're going to buy into. And then therefore you're going to create a peaceful space for them. And then that's going to, like I said, it can multiply in that same way. It's like, I felt really good going and having, coffee or dinner with her, and
Right.
it just flowed so easily. And then they take that and they go to their space, and then they're kind of feeling peaceful and more calm. And I think it's about just spreading that peace and joy and love and just amplifying it, because we need so much more of that.
Preach it, girl. We do. No, you're right. You're right. I was even gonna say something when you said that whole when you were talking about, how to just like amplify that peace by starting with yourself. Just when you exude it, like, and it gets to the next person, it keeps going and going and going, right? So it's that whole I'm trying to. It's not a circle. Well, I guess maybe you could call it a circle. It goes round and round and round, right? I was thinking in my head, I'm like, that's that non-verbal communication, right? I think a lot of people think that when you want to communicate, you have to scream at the top of your voice, right? But even what it is that you project is a way of communicating. It's a way of people relating to you, because if I have that peace within me and I'm projecting that to you, you know, you can relate better with me, right? Now you even understand me a whole lot better, and then it makes our relationship a whole lot better. So like
Mm-hmm.
it's just positive upon positive upon positive, right? So, Don, what do you think?
I think it's spot on. Like that's exactly what I'm gonna say, and it's also like almost like the analogy of going back to that ripple part. And you are going into someone's orbit, and when you are at peace, someone else enter your orbit, you feel so much more at ease, and that person inevitably can rub on some of your peace, your happiness, you're joyful, and that person automatically would feel so much more happier, and like, oh, I can't believe I was like thinking negatively. and and it's also like stepping into your business and helping you have a higher elevated state of mind, and it's like, okay, this is not working, what are some of the action steps I need to do in order to make it work. Or in my case, in family wise, my daughter for some reason loves to eat dog food, and I just try to make it as a joke. And like, okay, so she loves dog food, crawling when I'm working, so what are some of the ways that can prevent her eating dog food? So
Right.
like, some moms might be like, or some people might be super frantic, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you let her eat dog food. But I'm like, it's just dog food, so
Right.
thank goodness it's that, it's not like something poisonous. So
Right.
so it's like, when you at a peace state of peace, and you feel so much more at ease, and at a higher place, I feel like you will like come with a lot of what's the word for it, like more calmness around you, and you'll find so much more solution.
Solution. Yep. That is so true. I think when you're at peace, when you just kind of like what both of you said, when you're at peace, when you take a deep breath, when you take a step back, you really start to find some solution. And sometimes there are things that you never even thought about. You're like, oh, when I took that walk, my brain began to open up. Your brain was open already, but the problem is you were just congested at the time, so you just needed to go somewhere to just open
Agree.
it up a little bit. So, girl,
Yep.
that is so true. You know, I just I appreciate you guys for coming on here, and I'll tell you why. Because Sadrula is a motivational speaker, and I'm sure in everything, and of course, she has a podcast which I've listened to, which is beautiful, by the way, girlfriend.
Oh,
Um,
thank you.
she I'm sure she's definitely every time that she goes on to speak with people and everything, right? You're thinking, how do I really, pass across my message? How do I really, put my message out there? So if you were going to talk to your client about peace, right? Why more than ever is it an important thing to talk to your client about now? And how would you advise them to protect their peace fiercely? Pedro, yeah.
Uh,
Austin.
me. uh, well, if I'm going to talk to a client about peace, or I'm first going to, I would always first gauge, when you talked about the podcast, and whenever I get on with someone, especially someone that I didn't know before, because a lot of my guests, my early guests, I knew, but now I'm getting into conversations with people that I'm just meeting. And one of the things that I think is most important is building a rapport. Just having a conversation, building a rapport, and seeing how the synergy works with the person. And so that you can then get on air and have that synergy work however it's going to work. If this person is more of a question and answer person, then you work with that person with more of a question answer kind of format. If the person is more of a let's have a conversation, then you can do that too. Excuse me. If I'm talking to a client or a customer, I do the same thing. I kind of get a feel and a synergy from them. And then I ask them, because in my work, it's more of a, excuse me, it's more of a consulting position. So for me, it's more about information gathering, making sure I'm getting the right information, making sure that what I'm presenting to that person is going to be right specifically for their situation. So what I would do is have a conversation. I would start with questions on who they are, what they're expecting, and that sort of thing. And then how I would work peace into that is by helping them to see that in order to get to any goal that you want, you have to be focused, you have to be laser focused. And in order to be laser focused, you cannot allow yourself to be completely distracted by your thoughts, completely distracted by other things that are going on around you that you cannot affect, that what you do cannot affect change in that area, especially if your business is not aligned with that area for change. For me, my podcast is Diversity Dish. So my podcast is focused on diversity, equity, inclusion, and social justice. That is my area. But if my podcast were about makeup tips, right? If my podcasts were about makeup tips, but I'm really anxious about social issues, right? How allowing yourself to be anxious about these things over here would not help you in what you're doing over here with the makeup. Now, if you can find a way to blend the two together, that's different. But if you're over here, this is over here, you have to give yourself the opportunity to simply focus here when it is absolutely necessary. And then when you have other time or downtime, you can do things that you can over here for the social justice part, right? And you can speak to it. But you have to understand that keeping focus and keeping that space is so important. And so I would work to make sure that they understood that. And that a big part of that is protecting your space and protecting your peace and being in a space and being intentional. Intentionality is so important in all of it. So that's what I would do. Have the conversation and then put in the intentionality and say, you've got to be focused on declutter, right? We talked about decluttering. You have to declutter.
Mm-hmm. No, you're right. You're right, girl. I mean, I think that is very important. I think a lot of people, especially when all this stuff started happening in the world, a lot of people felt like, their businesses, how can they really blend everything together? And if they were not doing it, they felt like, oh my God, I'm the bad one. I'm not doing nothing. And then eventually they kind of knew how to blend it together. So I think the blend to, knowing how to do that blend seamlessly is a very important step to take, for sure. Dawn, how would you, as a business coach, how would you advise your client now more than ever to protect their peace?
I think a lot of times when I talk with my clients, they really don't have that boundary, first of all. Second of all, it's like having that limiting beliefs of themselves. So they are either thinking they're not enough, or like they think that they don't have time or energy. Well, those elements are like very funny because they go back to your boundary and like, why did not that happen? Like, why are you feeling, lack of time? Why are you feeling so down all the time and lack of energy? Well, that's because of not having a boundary and a system that works for you. So when I tell my clients, you have to really understand what is holding you back, first of all. And then second of all, having this inner peace that you create for yourself, like what works for you, what is intuitively work for you. And it's also going back to having the system that is aligned with you. So I know, like Cedrilla said about like, blending those like, things together, but it's also really finding the clarity and understanding what kind of mission you want to bring out in this world, and really be laser focused and having those actions that it's aligned with you, and thinking about like what are the things that would help you more, creating this inner peace and be influential to the world rather than like being in this negative spiral. And I think that a lot of times my clients also really struggle with not having this thing in place and thinking about, all I need is just business strategies. But no, girl, all you need is like having this right mindset and having this letting go of like what doesn't serve you and all those limiting beliefs, setting those boundaries and a system that works for you. And so I think that those are the things that really, like, all together, all these elements really cultivate this inner peace and, having the space for yourself and then making more impact into the world.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with both of you, definitely. I think that is very important. I think a lot of people think that when they look inwards and serve themselves first and make sure that they're at peace first before they start trying to serve the world, they think they're selfish, right? But it's not a matter of being selfish. It's a matter of knowing what it is that you can accept and what it is that you cannot accept. And what you can accept, you just work on it, and just get better and better and better, and I think a lot of people beat themselves up. A lot of people don't give themselves grace. If they just, if they just mess up, they don't give themselves grace. They think that the world is coming to an end. And I'm just like, it's not a big deal. Like, example, sometimes I have that moment, Dawn just told me that, she's like, it's okay. We make mistakes. It's okay. It's the world is not gonna end, and I think too, I mean, if you guys agree, I think also surrounding yourself with those kind of people around you that know that, right now, Norma is struggling with this. So, every little step that she makes, it's not to say, oh, you could have done this better. It's to say, wow, you're doing a good job. Let's try for something better next time, that kind of stuff. And then before you know it, you're kind of progressing. And to be honest, I think protecting your peace now more than ever is a very important thing for everybody. I think most especially parents. I think with the madness going on in the world and your kids just going all around the place, you're like, no, I can't do this. I gotta step away. I gotta step away. Jesus, take the wheel. I understand that. We have those moments, but
Yeah.
I think, I think again, it's also trying to, also trying to take a step back and asking yourself, but why am I feeling this way? Why am I being anxious? Do I need to, like Sadrilla said, the clutter? I think the cluttering, and I'm telling you, you're right. Space and mind go at the same time. Because when you start decluttering your space, your mind just start, you're like, oh my God, I feel good. Wow. I'm seeing more things, I'm seeing more space,
Yeah.
it's not just filled with junk, you know.
Yeah.
And as Don said, like boundaries. I think boundaries, girl, I didn't know how to set boundaries before. I was like, oh, can you do this? Yes. Can you do that? Yes, yes, yes. And then my health, started, I felt sick. Um, but then when I started really figuring out, you don't really have to complete everything in one. You can take it bite size at a time, and then before you know it, you complete every of that. My husband always tells me to. He's like, you don't have to overwhelm yourself by trying to do everything at once. You can break it down, and when you break it down, the tasks seem achievable. When you
Hmm.
try to do everything at once, then you overwhelm yourself, and it seems like, oh, I can't even do it.
Hmm.
Not happening.
Hmm.
So guys, I mean, I want to just ask you, like, any final thoughts that you guys have for our listeners out there that you would like to share? Don, I'm gonna go with you first.
I think definitely give yourself grace. I love the saying because if you treat yourself how you would treat to other people, how you would care to other people, you should pour your cup first before you help more people, so you will feel more at ease, feel more collected. You're not feeling irritated or frustrated, because I was guilty of that. And when I fixed that, I feel like I have a lot better relationship, a way better like how I treat myself, and also how the mindset and clarity of handling my business. And so I think that ultimately you should put yourself first, and it's okay to say no and don't feel guilty about that. And coming out and explaining it nicely and kindly why you're saying no, and let that person know it's okay. And maybe this time not working so well, like maybe perhaps next day, or next month.
All right. Or next year.
No, next year.
No,
Oh, no.
seriously, we have to put that there because people think that, oh, in 2 months I could do it. I'm like, no, next year. We can do it next year.
Yeah.
So, Drilla, what do you think?
I think that I like what Don said. I was going to say, saying no is not a bad thing. Saying no, like I said before, saying no doesn't mean that you're a bad person. It simply means that you are protecting a space, and it's okay to protect your space because, like you said, you can't pour from an empty cup. If you are not taking care of self, if you do not feel fulfilled, if you do not feel full, you can't really give what you want to give into the world. So you really have to know what it is that you want to do, who you are, and fill yourself before you go out there and try to give to others. And it's not a one-time deal. It's a fill yourself up, go out there, pour it out, come back and fill yourself up, because it's like a pitcher. A pitcher doesn't stay full all the time. You have to constantly fill it. And that's where whenever you come to refill, that's where you come to examine whether you are giving yourself enough space, whether you're giving yourself that peace, whether you're focusing enough on the areas that matter to you, and whether you're completely decluttered in that space. when you figure out that it is working, that's what's good, then you've filled up, then you can go out and you can do what you want to do in the world and create what you want to create in the world and give to people the best of yourself and not just a worn out, tired part of yourself. So it's so I agree with Dawn. It's definitely that's definitely what it is.
Yeah. I like how you said you fill yourself up, you go out there, you pour out, you come back, you fill up some more, maybe take a deep breath, take a nap, maybe take a long break, you go out there again, it's a back and forth. I love it, guys. I mean, you've heard from this wonderful guest, Cedrola and Dawn. Thank you guys for being on my show. I appreciate it. And I think like boundaries, the three things that stood out for me: boundaries for sure. I have to be very serious about that. Decluttering. I'm doing that right now, so I'm excited. It makes me feel very excited, honestly. So hey. And then the third thing that really stood out for me is also you have to fill your own cup before you go out there to fill someone else's cup. And I think that is very true. And you don't have to beat yourself up if you make a mistake. You just keep going. Guys, I want to thank you for being on here and really giving your authentic input to this conversation, as this is a much needed conversation for the world right now. I also want to thank my sister, Nadia, for putting all this behind the scenes production. Thank you so much for being a true sister keeper. And I want to thank each and every one of you for spending your Saturday night with me and my lovely guest. Until next week, I want to say, take care of yourself and protect your peace. It is so important now more than ever. And what doesn't serve you, just let it go. Just let it go. And it might not serve you now. It might serve you another time. Timing too is a big deal. Maybe now is not the right time, and that's okay. You don't have to beat yourself up. So guys, until next week, I want to say have a wonderful day and stay blessed. Bye.